The world often holds its breath when China speaks, but on November 8, 2025, Beijing didn't just speak, it roared. A fiery statement aimed at the Philippines sent shockwaves globally. Diplomats scrambled, generals reviewed plans. This wasn't the usual diplomatic language. China's patience had run out. A global power drew a line in the contested waters. Why did this statement matter? The China-Philippines relationship is a critical flashpoint. The South China Sea is a vital artery for global trade. Trillions in goods pass through every year. Any conflict here could cripple the world economy. When China signals a major policy shift, everyone pays attention. Regional disputes can become global crises overnight. It came after months of escalating tensions. China's new words moved the conflict from simmer to boil. The world was now watching the opening act of a larger drama. This wasn't just a regional spat. It exposed global fragility. For years, rules and norms kept powerful nations in check. China's statement suggested power might trump treaties. That's why the world paid attention. Will the future be governed by laws or by might? The dragon's roar from Beijing forced everyone to confront this question. The stakes had never been higher. The world was on edge, waiting for what would come next. What exactly did China say? The statement, unusually blunt, accused the Philippines of provoking and infringing on China's indisputable sovereignty. Manila's actions were called dangerous provocations and playing with fire. China warned it would take all necessary measures to defend its territory, a phrase often seen as code for possible military action. The statement singled out the Second Thomas Shoal, demanding the Philippines remove its grounded ship and halt resupply missions. China declared its patience was at an end. A direct ultimatum. Complying would mean surrendering sovereignty. Refusing would defy a powerful neighbor. The statement also warned external forces to stop meddling, a clear shot at the U.S. China claimed outside powers were the real source of instability. The message U.S. support for the Philippines is a provocation, not a deterrent. The goal, create doubt between allies. The final warning was chilling. Those who play with fire will perish by it. This ancient proverb, now a modern threat, marked a sharp departure from China's usual tone. The dispute over rocks and reefs had become a direct confrontation of national will. These were not just words, they were a declaration of intent. The world understood. A new, more dangerous phase had begun. The firestorm was lit. China and the Philippines were once close trading partners, bound by history and culture, but in recent decades, the South China Sea has overshadowed everything. China claims almost the entire sea, marked by its sweeping 9-dash line, overlapping with the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. The modern dispute escalated in the 1990s when China occupied Mischief Reef, deep inside Philippine waters. Since then, Chinese vessels have harassed Filipino fishermen, blocked ships, and built military outposts on disputed reefs. Each incident deepened mistrust. In 2013, the Philippines took China to court in The Hague, challenging its claims under international law. The 2016 ruling overwhelmingly favored the Philippines, declaring China's 9-dash line had no legal basis. China rejected the ruling outright. Since then, the Philippines has the law, but China has the power. Some Philippine leaders sought economic cooperation. Others, like today's government, have taken a firmer stance and strengthened U.S. ties. This back and forth has created an unpredictable environment. China's latest statement is a direct response to Manila's renewed push for its rights. It's Beijing's way of saying, international law doesn't matter here. The dispute is far from over. In the Philippines, China's statement sparked defiance and anxiety. News dominated every screen. On Manila's streets, people worried about livelihoods and the threat of conflict. The government responded firmly, "We will not give up a single inch of our territory." Diplomatic protests followed, but leaders walked a fine line, showing strength without escalating further. For once, politicians united, calling for a national front against Chinese pressure. The hashtag, Cha Atinang Pinas, the Philippines is ours, trended online, rallying national pride. But beneath unity, there was fear. The Philippine military is no match for China. The U.S. alliance became more crucial than ever. The burning question: would America really come to their aid? China's statement forced the Philippines to look to its oldest ally with new urgency. The nation was defiant, but deeply worried. The future felt uncertain. In Washington, China's statement triggered immediate action. The U.S. has a mutual defense treaty with the Philippines, but its application to the South China Sea was long unclear. Recently, U.S. officials clarified an armed attack on Philippine forces in the South China Sea would trigger the treaty. China's statement was a direct test. The U.S. responded swiftly. Our commitment is ironclad. The Secretary of State called Manila to reaffirm support. A U.S. carrier strike group began routine operations in the region, a clear signal to Beijing. Behind the scenes, U.S. policymakers debated how to deter China without sparking war. Some pushed for a tougher stance, others warned against escalation. The stakes were enormous. No one wanted a conflict between nuclear powers. The crisis also sparked debate in Congress. Some called for sanctions and more military aid. Others questioned America's interests in the dispute. China's statement forced the U.S. to confront its own strategic dilemmas. The world watched as America weighed its next move. The alliance was being tested like never before. The outcome would shape the region's future. The U.S. stood with its ally. But the path ahead was fraught with risk. The world held its breath. China's statement sent shockwaves across the Indo-Pacific. Vietnam, with its own South China Sea claims, called for restraint and respect for international law. Japan and Australia responded forcefully, warning against any unilateral change to the status quo. For them, South China Sea stability is a core interest. Trade and security depend on it. Their responses signaled to Beijing, the world is watching. Within ASEAN, reactions were divided. Some states, close to China, stayed quiet. Others, with their own claims, urged diplomacy. China has long exploited these divisions, preferring to deal with neighbors one-on-one. South Korea and India watched closely, seeing the crisis as part of a broader pattern of Chinese assertiveness. The events reinforced the logic of the Quad, US, Japan, Australia, and India, as a counterweight to China. The region's vulnerability was exposed. China's roar echoed across Asia. The balance of power was shifting. The stakes had never been clearer. As the world reacted, experts dissected China's statement. Many noted the unprecedented aggressive language, perish by fire, is rare in modern diplomacy. Dr. Evelyn Reed, a London think tank fellow, called it a direct challenge to the regional order. Legal scholars focused on China's rejection of the 2016 ruling, warning it undermines international law for all nations. If China succeeds, it sets a dangerous precedent worldwide. Military analysts took all necessary measures seriously, planning for blockades or even force. Any miscalculation could spiral into major conflict. Some experts pointed to China's internal politics with economic troubles at home. Nationalist rhetoric can rally the public and distract from domestic issues. But once unleashed, nationalism is hard to control. The consensus: the world is in a dangerous period. The risks of escalation are real. The next moves will be critical. After China's statement, frantic diplomacy began. The goal: de-escalate without losing face. The UN called for calm. Europe urged respect for international law. The most crucial talks were between Washington and Beijing. Military hotlines activated. Senior diplomats on emergency calls. The U.S. reaffirmed its commitment to the Philippines, but privately assured China it didn't seek conflict. The message: aggression would only strengthen U.S. Philippines ties and rally the region. The Philippines coordinated with the U.S. and ASEAN, but kept dialogue open with Beijing. Manila argued its actions were defensive and humanitarian, offering China a way to back down. The world watched, hoping diplomacy would prevail. The crisis showed how quickly disputes can become global flashpoints. The fate of a few Marines on a rusty ship had become a symbol of a much larger struggle. The outcome would shape Asia's future. The diplomatic tightrope walk had begun. China's statement was more than a diplomatic incident. It was a defining moment in 21st century geopolitics. The South China Sea is now the main stage for U.S.-China rivalry, with the Philippines at the center. The era of strategic ambiguity is over. Choices must be made. If China intimidates the Philippines into backing down, it sends a chilling message to the region. The regional order could shift, centered on Beijing. For the world, this is a test of the international system. Will law or power prevail? If powerful countries ignore the rules, global stability is at risk. Beijing's roar forced the world to pay attention and clarified China's ambitions. The immediate crisis may cool, but the underlying conflict remains. This is not the end. It's the start of a new, more dangerous chapter in the great power play of our century. The world is watching, and the stakes could not be higher.